today for another segment of Quarantine Times. Today, I have with me a guest, two guests. You know, Kini from my last video. He's a resident in quarantine in the Leela Palace Hotel in Bangalore currently. I'm also joined today by the general manager of Leela Palace Bangalore, Kunal Chauhan. And this conversation came up because Kini was so effusive and verbose in his compliments to how Leela is handling it and the comfort factor and everything. We thought we should hear it from the other side of the coin and hear Kunal's version of how the hotel's handling quarantine time, what's their strategy, what challenges have they come up across, and what's in it for the common folk like you and me. So Kunal, first of all, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me here.
Let me start with a quick background for those of us who don't know Kunal. A little bit about you. I know that you're from the armed forces background. You had a childhood growing up in different cities. Does that some sort of, in some manner, extend to being hospitable in COVID times to larger public? What do you think?
So my father's from the defense forces, and I've of course grown up in army cantonments, traveling with them. And I think for most defense kids, right, people with who've grown up in some army cantonment at various locations, I think hospitality gives a very good mix. And I think in case they don't join back armed forces, hospitality is amazing from that point of view. It has a spirit of a little camaraderie. People stick together, they work together. You're in charge of 800 people who work in a building. You know, it's a city in itself, which manages itself, runs day-to-day operations. And I think that those basic essence of discipline, being there when required, right, are crucial. And I think Army officer kids generally react to critical situations much better.
I have started with a better introduction. I think that puts things in perspective because at some level, all of us are in crisis mode, whatever our occupations are, professions are, and everyone is searching and seeking how we can extend beyond ourselves because the collective is stronger than the individual, right?
Absolutely.
So with that in mind, let me ask you, how long have you been with the Leela Palace as a whole, and how long has you been in, has your stint in Bangalore been?
So I've been looking after this beautiful Leela Palace in Bangalore for almost 6 years plus now. But with Leela Hotels, I worked for almost 10 years. It's
oh, wow.
a phenomenal company to work for.
That's amazing. And it piques my curiosity. And similarly, my friends at Kini are supporting, and we're all asking the same questions. And that's why we're having this conversation. And I read this article on April 21st, I think it was on News Nation, where the Leela Ambient in East Delhi has been converted into a quarantine hospital for doctors, where they're housing more than 100 doctors for over 30 days during their shifts, where they're mandated by government to work in 6-hour, 12-hour shifts. And during this period, they are staying away from their loved ones, from their families, because they come rest in the hotel and go back to work. So is this standard across the Leela? Are you guys in Bangalore doing something specific? And tell me more about this initiative.
So basically the need of the government arose because of that location not having a lodging facility of the size, right? And of course, we would love to partner and help out in such crisis situation in whichever manner we can. So yes, the conversion of Leela Palace Bangalore into a quarantine floor to help keep doctors safe away from their family and loved ones and take care of them while they were helping out so many people came a bit as an initiative to try and help out and do our bit in this in the community. Though no such need has occurred in any other of our hotels. Today we are helping creating guests who are returning back to their country, their state, and need to again stay safe in an environment away from their loved ones till they're tested and they feel it's good time for them to go back home and expose their families, right? So that's where we came in. But each of our hotel has, whether it was for stay purpose or just from the direction of trying to help out, as much as Leela Bangalore has a hospital right opposite, and they had a busy stint serving lunch, or the police people right outside our building who are keeping those checkpoints going and cannot leave those areas because they are also spread pretty thin. Just getting them an evening tea and a morning tea helps. All our hotels, in fact, we drove it as an agenda of saying find what you can do to help out, whether it was people who were walking back and somebody served them a lunch at that destination. So small things. I think all we can extend right now are just small acts of kindness to one another, which would make life much better. And so that is what was done.
That's amazing to hear. And when you talk about repatriate clients and quarantining for international travel and domestic travel, let me bring Kinney in on this point, because the entire reason we're having this conversation is because he was singing praises about how and addressing his needs. He cannot be loud enough when he says everyone has gone over and beyond. So, what do you want to say to him about your experience? How has it been so far? You're on day 5 today of the quarantine, right?
Day 6, I think. I think tomorrow I should be relieved from here. Well, I'm coming from Bombay, so Bombay is such a busy place, and suddenly you see it's become almost looks like a ghost town. Then you try to get into the airport, and it is not the same world what we left, to be very honest, right? You see, airport in Bombay is completely empty, and you have people dressed in hazmat suit. It becomes literally very intimidating, and it was not how we have traveled. So you are just worried that, well, the flight will take off. Will it take off? Was there any issues or whatever? And while all those things were happening, and then we had a choice to make between the hotels in the airport while we arrived in Bangalore. So by default, we were asked to come to Leela Palace. Now, the best part about this thing is there are two things to it. If we were by default given Leela, we would think that government has done certain arrangements over here. I'm assuming that there was a pre-approved tariff which was signed up with the government, so we had no reason for bargaining. Second thing is, since I've been traveling to these types of hotels for my business travel, I know this is not at all the actual rack rate of Leela Palace, what we are paying over here right now. And third thing is, in terms of the approach while we come in, it was not like they've been forced upon with these guests, but they genuinely took care of them if you would have come on a business travel as well. So all the travel apprehensions you had in the airport, landing, and all those things, it slowly settles down when you come to Leela, and they are like, absolutely, though they are dressed up very differently from what it was, but the warmth and the care which they have taken is something really great. And second thing is, I would like to know from Kunal, what is going to be for the hotel industry coming from now? Because this sword is hanging still, right? As in, it's not going to wish away just because the lockdown goes off. How are you going to treat your guest? Is it going to be the same set of the sanitizing process, and what are the SOPs for the guest? So a big thanks for taking care of us. Would like to know how it is going to be in future as well.
So thank you, Kimi. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you sharing your experience with everyone. In fact, Kenny is probably landed up in Bangalore as one of the first few flights arriving. So I must say, at least in Karnataka, that's what I'm aware of. I think the government bodies, the entire state machinery has done a phenomenal job. We are a populated, very heavily populated country, city, the amount of passengers they're handling. And I think it's been done in the right spirit. They gave every hotel an option. And of course, the options are limited till the time when they can't handle passenger load. They have the right to take over the properties and ensure health and safety of people is maintained first. So we all pitched in and said, okay, we will do this business at whatever. The idea is not to make money. The idea is to facilitate right now and make sure people are taken care of. The way the doctors who are actually checking all patients, whether it's the local authorities who are screening guests and allocating them, and still taking care of anybody with any health issues, getting their tests expedited through various channels. So it's been done very fairly and very nicely. So that really impresses me about the state machinery doing whatever they're doing. When we started taking the guests, of course, our employees were worried. So it was purely a voluntary function, right? And that's why you find that when probably Kenny comes, most of the people, first contact people he would have seen are my senior managers.
So you mean to say that employees have an option to choose not to work during this period? It's
yes,
voluntary?
Of course. And in the first lot, there were very few brave souls who came in front. And that's why I'm very thankful to my entire management team. My senior managers Probably when Kenny came in, the guy who's taking his check-in was a room division manager of the hotel, because people are worried, right? And when they see that by taking proper precautions, uh, your bosses are standing there taking check-ins themselves. Today, it's a very different scenario. There are more people who are working on the floors. A lot of restrictions are on, right? We had to practically reimagine everything we do, from our cafeterias to the staff lockers, changing room, because as much as we are worried in the front of the house, we are equally concerned about any of our employees picking up any infection. So there's a huge amount of service redesign which went into it. So to answer Kenny's question, will this be the new normal? Yes, I think it'll be the new normal till some vaccine is found and we know the risk of contamination goes down substantially.
So that brings me to the next point. So if this was voluntarily effort, I mean, your employees are or taking the option of working during this time on a voluntary basis, how equipped are you with safety gear? For basically in India, at least the first line of defense is our healthcare workers. Now, I mean, it's a thin line between whether you qualify for healthcare workers, because in my opinion, you do, because you're also in the first line of defense. But do you have enough equipment in terms of safety gear? How did you handle this training need? You just said to me that you're reimagining the service experience for anyone who resides in the Leela. So there are three questions in here. First, are you a full quarantine hotel, or do you still take staycation guests, like if someone wanted to come and stay for one night with a family?
We have been given one floor towards quarantine, right? So on Kinney's floor, you will not see any guest. You will not see any of my employees. You will see people in full hazmat suit enter those areas. So once the flight checks in, people have gone to the rooms by the elevators, everything is sanitized, right? There are UV lights being used. There are pre-approved diversity chemicals which are being used. This is foolproof, right? With government authorities also doing that. In fact, just because the kind of extra precaution being taken on these floors are much safer than any other thing. How we compartmentalize this right now is on Kenny's floor, where he is staying, we have only two of our boys working. These people have two rooms given to them. One is their changing and room. So every time they go in, the hazmat suit comes off. They never leave that floor with a hazmat suit. So it'll all be packed up and separate so that there is no way anyone else can get a contamination. That's where they take a shower, change into their own clothes, and go to their room. So these people have checked in almost 15 days back, and they're going to leave only when the floor gets vacated, right? So suppose Kenny is asked to go tomorrow, and doctor say you're fine. The room still will hold 48 hours in quarantine for us. We are not going to sell that room again. It's only 48 hours later that our employees will go into this room with full protection gear and still service it. And we are doing this as an extra precaution just to provide comfort to our employees. We know the regulation says after 48 hours, all surface contact areas should be relatively safe, but we just don't want to risk it. We want to play it and kind of focus attention that we have on these. So that answers your question of, is the hotel taking other guests? Yes, it is taking other guests. Our restaurants, public areas are still shut. So restaurants are not working in India, which is what will open in the second stage on the 8th. And we intend to take it slower. We intend to open one or two of our restaurants. Seating has been reduced now. And the idea is not to fill the restaurant ever to the brim, but to make sure that you have enough movement space. Buffets are thing of the past. It's going to be all a la carte. The amount of checks and balances in something like a restaurant operation are huge. We were always an ISO 2200 hotel. We are ISO certified, but now that's been taken to another height. We are now going to be COVID certified by Bureau Veritas, which is work has already started on it. This by the month end, we should have a certification to say that we are probably one of the first few hotel chains and hotels which would have that certification.
Well, that's awesome to hear, because I was heading in that direction to ask where are the SOPs coming from. But you said also you collaborate like with BBMP, and Kini mentioned he got tested on day 5 from authorities of BBMP.
So,
talk a little bit about how is this working? Since you have to closely coordinate with the authorities, are your hotels guided by state-run SOPs, or is it center-driven, or is it different from every Leela? Secondly, what about guest privacy? I'm aware that when the tests are happening, BBMP authorities directly intimate the results to the hotel guests via SMS or WhatsApp. What is your part in this whole process, and how well are you working with the state authorities?
So the SOPs are generically drafted by center, but each state is implementing them according to. So Karnataka, for that matter, unlike most states, chose to tell if you're traveling into Bangalore, 7-day or a 14-day quarantine is a must. You have no choice in it, and it's a paid quarantine. So if Kenny is staying, he's paying himself. The government is not doing that for you. And hence, when you land up, you're given a simple 3 choices. They show you, and it's not the hotel's guy, it's the administration there, which will show you the 3 prices available, and you can choose what comforts you. And then, just because from logistic point of view, they can't be taking preferences and say, okay, you go to this hotel, and they'll be rushing transport everywhere. They say, between the star classifications of the hotel, they put you in a bus and bring you together. That way, what they're able to do is maintain enough law and order presence, enough doctors to attend to you, and also control the way your tests will be taken. There's a huge peripheria which needs to run with it. So that's being controlled like that. Post that, the interaction between the guest and the doctor is very private and it's between them. For us, our job is very simply defined by saying, in case we find any guest breaks quarantine protocol on the floor, he decides to take walk, he decides to invite people and come down and try and see them, we are to report it immediately, right? Now,
And suppose a guest tests positive, what is your plan of action then? Do you hand over to authorities, or do you still have a part to play?
no, we have no part to play in it. The moment a test result will come positive, uh, the guest is taken in the vehicle by the government officials to a proper quarantine facility where, not a quarantine facility, but for their medical assistance. And it would be a hospital.
I had a question from a previous discussion where friends and friends were asking us, okay, it's all nice to hear that five-star services are beyond expectation because they're five-star, even if they're slashed rates. But when a common traveler is traveling for emergency purposes while domestic travel, air travel, and they have the option of choosing a 3-star and a 5-star, and if they can only afford a 3-star, then I go to your earlier point also, which was very relevant, which is you're in facilitation mode and not profit making mode. But do you have anything to say about how 3-star and budget hotels can deploy similar mechanisms, or at least provide quality service for the price, right? Because we're all now in survivor mode, and it's not a question of, yeah, okay, it's 1,000 rupees for a budget hotel, so you're not going to get any facilities, versus the price that Leela charges and all the comfort of the best comfort that you can offer in the given situation.
I think even the 3-stars and 2-stars have given their own price bands to the government to work with. Look, after having managed the situation, I know for a fact that it's a costly affair, right? To be able to use so many chemicals, to be able to have hazmat suits, facilities, it's going to cost these hotels a lot of money. When it comes to facilities, to be honest, what we are only able to offer Kenny right now is our, of course, one of the largest size rooms in the city, with the usual comforts of everything functioning in the room. And that's because we take care of it throughout the year. He's unable to enjoy any other facility which we are known for, right? All restaurants are shut. Everything is shut except room service and the room. So post-COVID era is going to be very different. I think it's going to be, each hotel will have to do a lot of hard work to ensure they're really COVID ready. And to be honest, the last probably 60 days of the entire lockdown, that's what we've done while we work from home, while we've tried to organize this entire breakup of our services and how we can deliver them post-COVID. And now also what's happening is all these supplies, items that you need are still traveling in, right? As much as hazmat suits and face masks, all that basic equipment. In fact, just because of the lockdown, I think what has happened is India has not had a shortage of it. We've, I think, pretty much been easily able to access these essential supplies.
Oh, wow. That's good to know, because that was an earlier question I'd asked, but it's good to know there's enough supplies of safety suits.
Kunal, while we were discussing about when you're opening with the full operations for Leela,
Right.
I was just curious in terms of your other facilities, specifically the restaurants, right? So
Right.
you said it's going to open after 8th or something?
Yes.
Mean actually, how would we take Is it like you have a controlled number of tables? Or do we book ahead? What do we do?
So normal reservations begin. What we will be doing from our side is one, Leela has developed a program called Suraksha. So what happens is basically every touch point where we think, so it's a very big part of ISO anyways. These are called hazard analysis and critical control points. So on these points where we think something can go wrong or there is a chance of a cross contamination, two, from guest point of view, the restaurants have been decluttered now to maintain the basic social distancing norm of 6 feet, right? So that's going to happen. A lot more is changing from people who just want to avoid as much human contact as possible. The menus are no longer paper. They are digitally available. So I think you will download a QR code and it will be available on your own device. So you choose what you want, right? We still prefer coming close to the table at a distance and asking you what you want. But guest has an option of trying to place the order directly himself, right? Your billing, wherever is concerned, there'll be no paper bills coming to you. The bills will be sent to you on your phone. So changes like that, they for us are life altering because it changes everything we do in the back end, front end. But we need to do this right now.
Okay.
But Kunal, what does that mean for me as a diner? So can I bring my family? Is there a minimum number? I'm sure for Kinney, right? If you want to bring like a colleagues or a team dinner or something like that,
So,
do you have a limit?
no, the government has put a limit on gatherings above 20, right? Now these limits will keep getting revised.
Your capacity down total in a restaurant?
Uh, Not in my case, because we already had that kind of distance between tables, right? But yes, for a lot of restaurants, it could mean a reduction of at least half the number of covers.
Okay.
So which restaurant are you opening? Which one is the first one to go
We
live
will
on June 8th?
open, we will open with our all-day dining, just because it has 5 cuisines which are already served. So we'll have something for everyone there, right? Uh, that will be the first restaurant. Uh, Second would probably be, depending on in-house guests, the bar, right?
So
And then
would people be able to order and the servers will still come deliver on the table, or do you have to pick up like a buffet
no, no,
table
no,
or
no.
something?
Servers will come to the table so that once you place the order, the server, the person who actually puts down the food, the one who touches the table after food is ready, right, is going to be in a proper protection PPE gear, which means he'll have a fresh glove every time. We'll be wearing a mask and a shield.
So that's great to know. What about the day facilities? Like I know a lot of friends who use the facilities in Leela, like the swimming pool, spa, things like that.
No,
Those are
so
not
they are
set to open, right?
those um, those we don't intend to open them right now, even if the directive comes, just because pool is a high risk zone. Wet areas in your spa are high risk zone. So we understand that these facilities might not be available to guests, but just in the interest of everyone's health and well-being, I think we will take some time before we reconsider opening these facilities.
Leela Galleria?
So the Galleria is part of a, whenever government allows the malls to open, it'll open. It's a shopping arcade. But what we are doing is the similar protocol exists there as well. Any public space, the protocols are similar. A part of our team is going to be sanitizing it a day prior. Then every shopkeeper comes in, they decide to open their stores. The same thing we do for them inside the stores. The number of people going into the store will be restricted, so that every store is supposed to manage, ensuring that they have enough queues. People are only entering with a mask. There's enough distance maintained between people. That's happening throughout Bangalore now.
Your hotel, you insist them having a mask even when they're coming to your restaurant?
Yes, entrance in the hotel, we will insist on a mask, and if a guest is not carrying his mask, we'll give him a mask. Temperature reading is a must. It's like right now, baggage are screened. It's a government regulation. Similarly, temperature reading is a must. So our new machines, by the time they arrive, the temperature reading and facial temperatures are going to be recorded for every guest. So in case there's a check back on a particular person, we have documentation of all that.
Yeah, that's why I asked, because I've been
Yeah,
hearing from friends in Bangalore that
they're
the
all
lockdown
waiting
has
to go
got
out.
to majority of them, and they would like to reward themselves with at least a meal or have the flexibility, generally speaking,
Yeah.
right, to be able to go out and enjoy a meal.
5 stars in Bangalore, or probably India, not many had ventured into home delivery and online meals, just having meals sent over. Uh, there were many reasons for it, but I think during this lockdown, uh, this form of service and engagement with our guests who might not be able to come to you and food needs to be sent to them will continue now.
Thank you so much for the time you spent with us. It is very reassuring that you're doing all of these things. And a lot of questions as a common traveler, as a resident in Bangalore, seem to be put at ease. Thank you for all your efforts, and I wish you all the very best.
Thank you very much for having me here. Great chatting with you.
Excellent.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Suresh.
Kunal. Thank you,
Bye
Zaida.
bye.